They were supposed to leave the church as husband and wife, hand in hand, hearts entwined forever. Instead, a single gunshot echoed through the sacred halls, and by the time the guests screamed, it was already too late. The bride was lying on the floor, her white dress soaking in crimson, all because of a secret that unraveled at the worst possible moment. Sarah Jennings and Marcus Reed were the couple everyone envied. Welcome to this channel, your portal into the most chilling true crime cases, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest corners of criminal history. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. In today's case, we dig deep into the facts, uncover shocking twists, and explore the theories that keep investigators and the world on edge. Stay back and enjoy. She was radiant, the embodiment of grace and charm. He was strong, gentle, and fiercely protective of her. Together, they painted the perfect picture of everlasting love. Their wedding was expected to be nothing short of a fairy tale. The church was packed that day. Friends, family, neighbors, all gathered to witness their love become official under the eyes of God. The scent of fresh roses filled the air, the choir sang sweet hymns, and the golden afternoon light beamed through the stained glass windows. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. Just as the pastor said, "If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace." A sudden commotion stirred at the back of the church. A man, disheveled and wild-eyed, burst through the double doors. "I object," he roared, his voice cracking with emotion. Gasps filled the room. The man, later identified as Daniel Carter, claimed he was Sarah's former lover. But it wasn't just jealousy that had driven him there. It was the devastating accusation he hurled across the aisle. "She had 10 abortions for me. She can't even bear you a child. She's barren, and she never told you." The room froze. The pastor stepped back. Marcus's hands trembled and Sarah's face turned deathly pale. Marcus turned to Sarah, searching her eyes for denial, for an explanation, for something, anything, to make it all go away. But when Sarah, tearful and defeated, nodded in shame, it shattered something deep inside Marcus. In that split second, rage and betrayal eclipsed every rational thought. Without a word, Marcus pulled a concealed handgun from his jacket, a gun he legally carried for protection, and shot Sarah point blank in the chest. Her body collapsed onto the pristine white aisle, the red of her blood blooming across her dress like a grotesque flower. Screams ripped through the church. Guests ducked for cover. Chaos exploded where love was supposed to reign. The authorities arrived within minutes. Marcus surrendered immediately, standing over Sarah's lifeless body in shock, the gun falling from his hands. At first, it seemed like an open and shut case of cold-blooded murder. But as detectives dug deeper, cracks in Sarah's carefully curated image began to emerge. Sarah had a past she had painstakingly hidden. A string of tumultuous relationships, volatile breakups, and indeed, a medical record that confirmed multiple pregnancy terminations. The most damning revelation was that Sarah had been warned by her doctors that future conception might be impossible, yet she had never disclosed this to Marcus, a man who deeply yearned for a family. Worse still, friends of Sarah came forward to reveal that she had planned the marriage more for status and security than love. Her plan had been simple: marry Marcus, maintain the illusion, and hope he never discovered the truth. Daniel Carter's unexpected arrival was never part of her carefully crafted script. Suddenly, the narrative began to shift. Marcus wasn't just a murderer. He was a man broken beyond repair, betrayed at the altar, humiliated before everyone he loved, and stripped of the future he had envisioned. Yet, no matter how devastating the betrayal, the law was clear. Murder was murder. Marcus's defense team painted a picture of temporary insanity, the culmination of emotional devastation. The prosecution, however, argued that rage was no excuse for taking a life, especially in a sacred space. The trial became a national sensation. Headlines screamed betrayal, deceit, and cold-blooded revenge. Public opinion split into two camps. Those who believed Marcus was a heartbroken man pushed beyond his limits, and those who believed no amount of betrayal justified becoming a killer. The chilling truth is this: secrets kept in the name of love have the power to destroy it. Honesty isn't just the foundation of relationships, it's the lifeline. When trust is betrayed, even the most sacred bonds can break into irreparable pieces. Marcus and Sarah's story is a brutal reminder that hiding the darkest parts of ourselves doesn't shield us from the consequences. It magnifies them. Love built on lies is a ticking time bomb. As the jury deliberated Marcus's fate, new whispers surfaced, suggesting that Sarah's past was even darker than anyone knew. Was Daniel telling the whole truth? Or was there an even deeper web of betrayal that no one had yet uncovered? One thing was certain: the real story was far from over, and the secrets buried with Sarah might just claw their way back to the surface. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Marcus Reed sat stoically at the defendant's table, his face hollow, his once bright eyes now dim. The prosecution was confident. They had a man who had shot his wife in front of 200 witnesses. Open and shut. But Detective Laura Briggs, the lead investigator, wasn't satisfied. Something about Sarah's background gnawed at her. Why would a woman with so much to hide walk down the aisle as if nothing could go wrong? Why was Daniel Carter, the ex, so desperate to stop the wedding, but had never come forward before? Following a hunch, Briggs dug deeper. And what she found turned everything upside down. Sarah Jennings wasn't just hiding her past. She had been manipulating it. Records showed that Daniel Carter had been in a long, abusive relationship with Sarah. But Sarah had also blackmailed him into silence with threats of false charges. Daniel's arrival at the wedding wasn't a last-minute decision. It was a desperate, final attempt to expose her before she could trap another man. But that wasn't all. Investigators unearthed financial documents showing Sarah had taken out a secret life insurance policy on Marcus just 3 months before the wedding, worth $2.5 million, with herself as the sole beneficiary. Was she planning to ruin Marcus's life for money? Was her marriage just another con? Marcus's legal team seized the new evidence like sharks smelling blood. In court, the narrative changed from cold-blooded murder to betrayed victim of an elaborate scam. The defense painted Sarah as a master manipulator who used men for emotional, financial, and physical gain, then discarded them when they were no longer useful. The jury shifted uncomfortably in their seats. For the first time, sympathy began to drift toward Marcus. During Marcus's emotional testimony, he broke down. "I would have forgiven anything," he wept. "But not a life built on lies. Not a family stolen from me before it could even exist." The courtroom was silent, save for the sound of sniffles. Reporters outside captured the moment, broadcasting it to a nation already gripped by the case. Just when it seemed Marcus's defense had the upper hand, another shocking piece of evidence surfaced. Daniel Carter was found dead in his apartment 2 days before he was scheduled to testify. Overdosed, the report said. But something didn't add up. A voicemail from Daniel to a friend, recorded the night before his death, revealed a chilling message. "If anything happens to me, it's not an accident." She wasn't working alone. The question now wasn't just about Sarah's betrayal. It was about how deep the conspiracy ran, and who else was pulling the strings. Had Marcus unknowingly married into something even darker than a web of lies? The story wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun. Detective Laura Briggs stood over Daniel Carter's lifeless body, the apartment thick with the stench of stale air and regret. Something about the scene screamed staged. There were no signs of struggle, no notes of goodbye, only the voicemail he left behind and a missing laptop. Whatever Daniel had discovered about Sarah's life and her accomplices had died with him, or so it seemed. Briggs, refusing to give up, subpoenaed Sarah's phone records. Hours combing through text messages and call logs revealed a name that kept appearing before key moments. Monica Ellis, Sarah's best friend since high school and the maid of honor at the doomed wedding. Digging deeper into Monica's life revealed disturbing financial transactions. Large sums had moved between Sarah's accounts and Monica's, transfers that coincided with Daniel's sudden threats to expose Sarah's past. Briggs now had a new theory. Sarah hadn't been acting alone. Monica had helped orchestrate the entire scam, and maybe, just maybe, had a hand in Daniel Carter's sudden death. Back in court, Marcus's defense team revealed the new findings. The jury listened, horrified, as text messages between Sarah and Monica were read aloud. Sarah, if he opens his mouth, it all falls apart. We can't let that happen. Monica, he won't. Trust me. He's weak. The implication was devastating. Not only had Marcus been emotionally destroyed by Sarah's betrayal, he was targeted, groomed, and set up from the very beginning. Sarah hadn't fallen in love with Marcus. She had hunted him. The church shooting that once seemed like an impulsive crime of rage now looked like a desperate man's reaction to a monumental trap closing around him. The defense called Monica Ellis to the stand. Under cross-examination, her confident exterior cracked. Faced with mountains of digital evidence, Monica confessed. Sarah had been planning to drain Marcus financially after the wedding. The life insurance policy was their golden parachute. And Daniel? He knew too much. Monica admitted to meeting Daniel the night he died, but insisted she only wanted to scare him into silence. Whether or not she had helped end his life would be a separate trial. But the damage to the prosecution's case was already done. Marcus was no longer the monster. He was the prey. Public opinion flipped almost overnight. News outlets painted Marcus as a tragic figure, a good man broken by deceit and manipulation. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse, carrying signs that read, "Free Marcus. Victim, not killer." The emotional narrative was now on Marcus's side, but the legal battle wasn't over yet. Edward Jennings, Sarah's father. The ledger contained documents, bank transfers, birth certificates, even letters, outlining how Edward Jennings had illegally built his fortune by manipulating his own children and using them as pawns in inheritance battles with old rivals. Sarah had grown up in this toxic empire, molded by lies and betrayal from the beginning. But the most damning document? A contract between Edward Jennings and Monica Ellis's family, dated 10 years ago, promising financial support if they ensured Sarah's marriage aligned with family goals. In short, Sarah's entire life, her friendships, her love, her marriage to Marcus, had been engineered for profit and revenge. Armed with the new evidence, Briggs crashed the final days of Marcus's trial. In front of a stunned jury, the entire conspiracy was laid bare. Sarah wasn't just deceptive, she was groomed to destroy. Monica wasn't just a friend, she was a paid co-conspirator. Marcus wasn't a jealous killer, he was a casualty in a decades-long war over greed and pride. When the verdict came in, the courtroom was silent. We, the jury, find the defendant, Marcus Reed, not guilty on all counts. Marcus collapsed into tears as gasps echoed through the room. For the first time since that horrific day at the altar, he was free. Free from the chains of Sarah's lies, free from the sins of a family legacy he never asked to be part of. But justice didn't stop there. Monica Ellis was arrested on charges of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and accessory to murder. The investigation into Edward Jennings's empire reopened decades of unsolved financial crimes. The Jennings estate, once sprawling and untouchable, was seized by federal authorities. The family name, once whispered with reverence, was now synonymous with corruption. The wedding that should have been Marcus's happily ever after had become a funeral, not just for Sarah, but for an entire dynasty of deceit. Months later, Marcus stood alone at a quiet lakeside, holding the simple wedding band he had once placed on Sarah's finger. He tossed it into the water, watching it sink into the deep, dark waves, just like the love he had once believed in. He wasn't the same man anymore. He had lost everything, but in a strange way, he had gained something far more precious. Freedom. Freedom to rebuild. Freedom to heal. Freedom to love again, this time with eyes wide open. As Marcus walked away from the lake, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. A text message. You survived the first storm. But there's more you don't know. About Sarah. About your real family. Call me when you're ready. Marcus froze. Was it finally over? Or was the web of betrayal even deeper than anyone dared imagine? Only time would tell.